My name is Giriraj. I'm a solutions engineer at Cloudflare. Today we're going to discuss about an important feature in Cloudflare Zero Trust. Cloudflare Zero Trust offers a dedicated egress IP for our customers. What is the advantage of dedicated egress IP address? When you use Cloudflare Secure Web Gateway, it's a multi-tenant architecture. When your users are steering the traffic to the closest Cloudflare edge using an IPsec tunnel or a GRE tunnel or using browser isolation or using Cloudflare Warp Agent, the traffic will reach the closest Cloudflare edge, and we use a pool of IP range from the multi-tenant architecture to make an outbound connection to any destination on the internet. Some customers, especially if you're into financial sectors or if you work with government agencies, they provide strict rules to allow connection to the SaaS application only from a specific public IP address. In order to solve this problem, Cloudflare Zero Trust provides ability for our enterprise customers to use a dedicated egress IP. So by using dedicated egress IP, some of the common use cases, you can lock access to your SaaS application using a specific public IP assigned by Cloudflare to your organization. And this dedicated egress IP is not shared with any other Cloudflare customers. The other common use case you can leverage using the dedicated egress IP is if you're using Google Workspace or M365 or AWS or Salesforce SaaS application, you can enforce conditional access or context aware policy using the dedicated egress IP. In case if you have an unmanaged device, you can also use browser isolation along with the dedicated egress IP to provide access to your SaaS application from an unmanaged device. Now, the best part about Cloudflare dedicated egress IP is Cloudflare can provide both IPv4 and IPv6 dedicated egress IP. If needed, Cloudflare also has the ability to bring your own IP address and advertise your IP address through Cloudflare Edge and apply dedicated egress IP policy. And please note, the dedicated egress IP policy is part of the enterprise subscription, and we can assign dedicated egress IP in all the Cloudflare data centers, 320 plus data centers across the globe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a short demo of how to configure dedicated egress IP policy, how you can enforce conditional access, and when your users are working from home or any part of the world, how can we make sure when they access a specific SaaS application, we can steer the traffic using the dedicated egress IP assigned for your tenant. So let's get into the demo. I have a Windows workstation and it's installed with the Warp agent. And if you log into the Cloudflare dashboard, if you go under Gateway and Egress IP policies, I've created two egress IP policies. The first egress IP policy is to use the shared Cloudflare IP address. As a customer, you do not have a choice to choose the public IP address. So what will happen is with the default Cloudflare egress IP, the user traffic will terminate on the closest Cloudflare edge. We can use any IP available in the Cloudflare IP block. Remember, we are a multi-tenant architecture. What happens is, depending upon the bandwidth, when a user traffic hits Cloudflare, we will use a specific IP to from the pool to make connection to your SaaS applications. What I've also done is, this is my Microsoft portal. I've enforced conditional access. What it means is when a user tries to log into M365 services, only if the source IP or the public IP of the end user is one of this IPv4 or IPv6, user will get access to M365. If the user's public IP is not one of this IP, user will be denied to access the M365 services. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly check what is the IP address. So you could see that my Zero Trust agent is turned on. And if I go to preference, I'm working from home and I'm based out of Sydney. My traffic is being processed by the Sydney data center. I'm going to quickly open an incognito window. Let me go to this website. You could see the public IP assigned or used by Cloudflare to access any SaaS application from my workstation is 104.29.196.198. So this is one of the IP picked from the Cloudflare Edge IP pool. Now remember, I have configured a conditional access policy. If the source IP of the end user is not 104.30.132.208, I'll be denied access to M365 login based on the conditional access policy. So let's try to validate that. So my IP is definitely not the IP that I've configured in conditional access. I'm going to log into Outlook. All right. Let me put the login credentials. Okay, so I'm going to click on sign in. I'm going to put the user ID and password. giriraj@mytrust.co.in. I'm going to put the password. Here we go. Remember, my public IP is not ending with 208 because my workstation is using a shared Cloudflare IP pool. Because it does not meet the conditional access policy, I've been denied access to M365. Now what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to quickly turn off the agent for a few seconds. I have another policy already created in order to save the timings of the recording. I've created another policy. Remember, this policy is in disabled state. And if you see the conditional access policy, and this is the IP I'll be using to enforce the user traffic. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to enable the first policy. And if you see this policy, what I've done is if the URL domain is icanhazip.com or if the application is M365 application, then I'm setting a condition, use dedicated egress IP. I'm choosing a dedicated egress IP in India, which is located in southern part of India. So I'm choosing both IPv4 and IPv6. So by this way, what happens is if my PC generates IPv4 or IPv6 traffic, and once the traffic reaches the closest Cloudflare edge, we will be using this dedicated egress IP to establish a connection to any SaaS applications. Now my first rule is turned on. I'm going to turn on the Cloudflare agent again. It's connected, so I'm going to open an incognito window. I'm going to check what is the IP address. You could see here the moment I turned on the dedicated egress IP policy, my public IP got changed. Now I'm going to log into Microsoft and let's see what happens. All right, I'm going to put my credentials. All right, let's see if the login works this time. Yes, here we go. I'm able to log into the M365 portal because my PC meets the compliance and it matches the conditional access policy. Therefore, I'm able to access the M365 application based on the conditional access policy. Thank you for watching this demo and you have a wonderful day. And if you would like to enable dedicated egress IP policy in your Cloudflare tenant, please reach out to us or your account manager. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.